Hi there, and welcome to Q the Health Podcast. I'm Ashley Martin, the hostess with so much love for you listening. Q the Health is here to help you take the right action for your health, healing, and well being. We're back at Keeping the Real in Relationships. Recall in part one, we visited respect. In part two, we looked at two E's that help things do what they do in relationships. Extremely important E's: empathy and EQ. So you won't go empty or run empty. In this episode, part three, we'll get into a critical aspect of relationships, our attitudes, and perhaps when they might need some adjusting. Now, our attitudes are little things that make a big difference, and they are often reflected in our behaviors, how we think about things, how we speak about things. And the root of it is honestly our heart posture. Our heart posture. How we see things and how we respond make a big difference in our relationships, right? You see in that cup after you said, please put the cup in the dishwasher. You seen that cup on the counter several times after you said, please put it in the dishwasher. And how we respond to perhaps maybe that request was met or not met can make a big difference in our relationships. Now, when we can control our attitude, that's a very good thing. It's a very good thing. And this is where you want to tap into your emotional quotient or your emotional intelligence. It's good to use your respect, right? Love for the ladies. And again, empathy. All those things contribute to our attitudes. Work through our attitudes as well to facilitate good things or maybe not good things in our relationships. Some keys to adjusting our attitudes to get the best out of our relationships are many, but I'm going to share a few with you. First key, halt when you need to. HALT, halt when you need to. It is an acronym to help us to remember when to slow down, when to press pause, right? Pause or the cause, or to simply stop before we say something or take action. This is especially true under these halt conditions. When you are hungry, literally, when you are angry, when you are lonely, or when you are tired, it is important before you respond in a certain way. It's important to just pause, slow, or maybe just slow down a little bit. Those conditions, especially important. Hungry, you're angry, lonely, or tired, right? Again, you want to press pause and then respond. Slow down and then respond, or simply stop and then respond. Very, very important. I remember something wonderful that my mother did for me one time. She was visiting me out in Texas, and I had a long day at work. But I like my environment a certain kind of way. And I was putting dishes up. And I was putting dishes up from the dishwasher to the cabinet. And I was so tired that I dropped one of the dishes. And I like those dishes. I dropped one. And my mother, she just walked over. She said, no, stop. She said, let me do this for you. You go sit down. But I had a day at work. Maybe you have been there. It wasn't necessarily a bad day. It just was a long day. A lot of things going on. I was tired. My response in that moment was very favorable. It was very appropriate. It was good, right? It was very good. And I think my response was equally, maybe it was good as well. I said, okay. I didn't fight it. I didn't fight her. I said, okay. Because I was tired. And I didn't need to break any other dishes. I didn't even drop any other dishes. So I'm grateful. It's moments like those, sliding door moments, as some would call them. Thank you, greater good. It's moments like those that can make a big difference in our relationships. We want to pay attention to that. When do you need to halt? When do others around you need to halt? And that leads us to the next key, is gauging another person's attitude and temperature checking, and knowing and helping them adjust, and then you adjusting as well, right? So when tempers are involved, this is especially salient, right? You want to be mindful of when you need to cool down Just like an oven knob. When you turn the temperature down, when you're baking something, some things don't have you don't need as much heat as other things, right? So we need to be mindful of when we need to cool down. Perhaps when we're in a conversation or heated debate, when do you need to maybe step away and come back? And then you want to be mindful of when you need to add a little heat and turn things up a notch. Sometimes that helps. And sometimes again, like food, there's certain foods that won't get cooked, it won't get done at a certain temperature. The temperature is too low, it's not going to work out. So where in situations does the heat need to be turned up a little bit? Good heat, of course. Good heat. Perhaps maybe more of an intentional conversation, more of an intentional action that will lead to a good thing. Where does that need to be turned up a notch? And then the final key, here's something to ponder, something to think when engaging with others, and when perhaps there's not the best attitude. Consider this: we fight fire with water, not with more fire. So if the other parties are being a little spicy, a little hot, very heated, and it's the conversation and or interaction is not leading anywhere, remember, we fight fire with water, not more fire. Just consider that. So it's just a means to try to help diffuse a situation, diffuse a temperature, and diffuse the wrong attitude instead of adding agitation. And again, perhaps a bonus key: seek understanding. Seek understanding over jumping to a conclusion when you don't know. When you don't know, seek understanding instead of jumping to a conclusion. It'll help. We want to make sure we're interpreting and understanding things in the manner in which people intended. And I'm of the mindset that there are people who mean well. There are people who mean well, and people who do have positive regards. So we want to make sure that we're not jumping to conclusions, especially if somebody does mean well. I know there's some that don't. But when somebody does mean well, we want to make sure that we're honoring that as best as possible. Just a few things to think about and put your keys to use. Put them to use accordingly. If you know someone who could benefit from hearing and or putting any of these to use, don't hesitate to share it with them. If something's working for you or someone you know, again, leave it in the comments. If there's something that you want to share, leave it in the comments. You never know who's watching. Until next time.